out so horribly. Put it away, I was like, I'm just not gonna do this quilt. It's many, many months later. Hey there, I'm really excited to share with you all the first t-shirt quilt I've ever made. It was a really fun process and I learned a lot, so I hope you enjoy. I am really excited to get started on this project. I went to Oklahoma State University, so it's a lot of orange and then some black and gray. I'll show you the t-shirts that I'll be using. This is actually the first t-shirt I ever really got as an OSU student. This was a shirt I got at freshman orientation. Also thinking I'll use the back. This is probably one of my favorite t-shirts, this orange one. It has the seal of Oklahoma. I have a number of t-shirts from Honors Orchestra. So these actually weren't really from college. These are more from high school, but I did orchestra camp. I played violin and viola. Here we have Pistol Pete playing the bass, Pistol Pete playing the violin. This one, it isn't quite OSU. Stillwater Summit is a really popular store in Stillwater where OSU's at, and it just is nice to add some gray into all the orange. I studied interior design at OSU, so this is from one of the professional organizations. I was actually not very involved in the Korean Student Association at OSU, but my dad was a faculty advisor. I really love this one because it's just so colorful. This gray basically says Korean Student Association. So I'm gonna get started on cleaning up the space, getting some of that sort of put away. We got the baby up here. My idea is to quilt block numbers 2013 over the entire quilt because that's the year I graduated. So I think I have roughly what I want, how I want the t-shirt quilt laid out. So there's a couple of empty spots where I'm using the front or the back in a different spot. So a couple of tips I found while cutting up my t-shirt, just to try to move the t-shirt as little as possible while it's on the cutting mat. That sort of helps prevent you from picking it up and actually stretching it since it's a knit fabric and it's not stabilized yet. Instead of trying to use my template to cut the sides of this square out, I found I just use the template and I mark out the four corners with a pen. And then I use my ruler to cut the four sides out. That has been working a lot easier and it's a lot faster as well. Are cutting the final square for the t-shirt quilt. I have my template. The center is marked with a little black mark. And because this cardboard template was made from a box, it has some folds in it already, so it allows me just to peek underneath, make sure that the template is centered, which surprisingly is an issue, either because the design wasn't printed straight or because it got stretched while I was wearing it. Reading that interfacing has stretch to it in a direction, which I can definitely see, like it'll stretch this way. So I'd want to iron it on perpendicular to the stretch of the fabric. I'm a little bit nervous about sewing all my t-shirts together because it's been a while since I've used my sewing machine. This sewing machine is one that I have had for years. I took sewing lessons with that machine probably when I was maybe in 3rd or 4th grade. The needle is stuck in a way where you can literally only do one kind of stitch in just one position, which is not centered. It might be time for me to get a new sewing machine because I have other sewing projects I'm really hoping to do. I'm going to reference back to the photo I took of all my squares laid out on the floor so I can make sure I am sewing the correct squares together. I already messed up on my design when sewing the pairs. Goodness! He's screaming at the ceiling fan. It's very exciting. So I really want to make sure I don't mess this up because I'm hoping to alternate, you know, orange squares with gray and black squares. So I'm cutting the batting now. So what I've done is I've laid the pieces side by side and then just made as straight a cut as possible, and then I'm just gonna stitch these two pieces together. I just need a little bit more to finish the batting for the quilt. For some reason I thought I was gonna need both pieces, but what I'm discovering with this project is that when I try to do math, it usually isn't right. So I just have to lay it out and see what it looks like. I somehow lost all the footage of me quilting the numbers onto my quilt, and so in here just to explain what I did. I got a projector, a really small one, and my husband helped me screw it into a board, and then I laid it across the top of the bookshelves up here in the loft area, weighed it down with some books and a big bag of Epsom salts, just whatever I could find. And then I laid my quilt out on the floor. I had the batting and the backing underneath, and it was all safety pinned together with a ton of quilting pins. Then I had sketched 2013 into my notebook just multiple times until I found just a design that I liked. And so I took a picture of that with my phone and then connected it to the projector, and from there projected it onto my quilt. And then I used a erasable fabric marker just to trace it onto my quilt, and then from there sewed along those lines on my sewing machine. I also don't have any different kinds of feet for my sewing machines. I did, you know, leave the presser foot down, basically try to do some freeform quilting. It definitely did not turn out as good as I thought it would. I actually did this whole process twice. So the first time I didn't use a projector. I tried to just sort of freehand 2013 onto my quilt and quilting that, and it turned out so horribly. I was really discouraged. I was honestly really mad. And so I put it away. I was like, I'm just not gonna do this quilt. But I went back, I unpicked all of the quilting that I had done and then used this method. And so it looks a lot better, and it's just a learning process. So hopefully the next t-shirt quilt I make will look better. So something that made a huge difference while I was quilting were these quilting gloves that I got off of Amazon. These gloves have some grippiness on the fingertips. They came in a size small, which is great because they actually fit me. And they just made such a big difference in just lessening hand fatigue, allowing me to manipulate the quilt with the machine, and just giving me better control overall. So the little guy and I went to the craft store, had a successful trip. They had the wider quilting bias tape, but I just think the skinnier bias tape is going to work better just because for some of the t-shirts the pattern is so close to the edge, so I just want to make the bias tape as skinny as possible. So I found the gold, only found 2. There's a Hobby Lobby close to my workplace, so I'll visit there sometime this week and get some more, but I just wanted to get what they had just so I could get started. Many months later. I never ended up really finishing this quilt, so I am determined to do that this week. I have the edge binding all stitched on the front side using the machine, and then I've been stitching it on the back, the other half of it on the back by hand. So all I have left is one side to stitch down. I measured the back with plenty of extra room to spare so I could trim it. but I have like the tiniest bit right here that won't get covered by the edge binding. So I just need to get a little triangle of the back fabric, probably just stitched in by hand. So once I do that, it will be done. It was definitely not as perfect as I thought it would be. Beginner's foolishness, I guess. I'm really happy to almost be done. I thought I would be using this for fall picnics and just laying on the lawn, but I think that's gonna be not happening in the summer, which is still great. And hopefully I'll get this finished this week.